Sanibonani. Hello there. Dumelang. I'm clinical psychologist Khosi Jiyane. Thank you for joining us again on Natura Rescue Day-to-Day Talk. Today we're talking about how to navigate relationships during separation and isolation. We all know it's common for people to sometimes live and work in a separate place from their family and loved ones. While this type of separation is not usually our first choice, sometimes circumstances force us to make such tough decisions. Or for some people, it may be that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to pursue a dream they've had for a long time, just like it happened to me a couple of years ago. When this happens, people usually have an opportunity to discuss what it means for their lives and how they're going to make it work for their relationships with those they would like to stay in touch with. So they work out a schedule of when, how frequently, and for how long they will visit each other. We often refer to these as commuter relationships, marriages, or families. I'm pretty sure you'll agree that our lives were quite well structured into a predictable routine until, in what felt like a split-second switch, all that changed with COVID-19. So in today's episode, we want to explore the question, how do we manage this type of disruption and being forced to be away from our families and loved ones? If you're enjoying the show, please like the show on all socials, share the video on Watch Party and group chats where you can invite your friends and family. And if you have any comments or questions, please throw them in the chat box. From the beginning of this pandemic, we've been hearing warnings about the importance of social distancing, of wearing a mask or protective shield, and sanitizing ourselves frequently. All of us have been on high alert, checking for the earliest symptoms of COVID. When someone does contract the virus, social distancing takes on a whole new meaning. We all have our own views on the severity of COVID. How do we stay safe when people don't agree or follow regulations? Some people don't wear their masks properly or don't care about social distancing. When that person is in your family, it makes it even harder. While there is no exact science to this, we know that the more precautions we can take, the better our chances of protecting ourselves and other people. So when someone does not take the necessary precautions or is a bit lighthearted about doing that, and they do contract COVID, what it does is that it brings on a whole emotional reaction to it. It's understandable to be angry about it, frustration, and of course, the fear that they might put you at risk and others in your family at risk. So the tendency may be to then leave the person to take care of themselves because they've caused this upon themselves. While this may be justifiable given the emotions that you're feeling at the time, it's very much important to look beyond the emotions and to ask yourself the question, will I be able to live with my reaction long after the emotions have dissipated? And will you be able to look at, for example, your children in the face and to be able to feel that you have done enough to, for example, protect their father in his time of greatest need? So it's as much as it's important that everybody takes responsibility for changing our behaviors, we need to also recognize that when someone does contract COVID, we need to go beyond our sense of rightness and wrongness and do what it takes to support them to recover as quickly as possible, because in doing so, we protect ourselves and we support ourselves to stay healthy and safe. Because the range of symptoms varies from mild to severe, people across all age groups, for that matter, do recover and go on to live their normal lives and even return to work. Unfortunately, some people end up admitted in hospital, and even more unfortunately, some people don't make it back home alive. This is a very hard and unfortunate reality of this time that we live in. And when it happens, it disrupts everything. Not only do we have to confront the possibility that they may not recover, but the fact that we may not be ready not to see them again. It's important, though, to recognize that, first of all, we may not be able to visit people. We will not, in fact, be able to visit people, which brings added stress to the experience for individuals and for the entire family. Secondly, if in the unfortunate circumstance that someone does pass away, not only do we have to bear the pain of losing a family member or someone that we really do care about, it also means that our social, cultural, and familial rites and rituals are not going to be observable because of the COVID conditions that we have to observe. It's always important to remember, though, to distinguish between grief, which is our personal experience of pain and loss, and bereavement, which is the rites and rituals that we normally want to observe. So give yourself the permission to mourn your loss, to feel it, to express it fully, to validate what's going on for you. And while it may not be possible to observe all the rites and rituals that perhaps have meaning in your family, let's just remember that this is just the one time when technology can become our best ally. Because in some circumstances, because of the limitation of the number of people that can attend funerals, for example, technology becomes our only link that allows us to bridge the distance between people that are able to attend the funeral and those that may have to watch it from a distance. And so through things like Zoom, Facebook Live, and all these social platforms, people are at least able from a distance to be part of the ceremony, even though they are not able to be there as much as they may have wished to do so. Let's also remember that these rites and rituals evolve at a certain context, at a certain time, and under certain circumstances in our lives as human communities. And so the fact that we may not be able to observe them at this particular time does not mean that it's the end. Once the situation changes and it is safer for us to perform those rites and rituals that will honor our loved ones in ways that we find befitting. Lockdown allows us to spend more time with our family, but that has two sides to it. On the one hand, it helps you to spend more time with your kids and with your family, and thereby allowing you to form and strengthen the bonds of your family. Then, going back to work might feel like you're missing out, as if you might start growing apart when you're not spending all that time anymore. As we can see, there are two sides to this. While it is all well and good and we value the time that we are able to spend with each other and are equally grateful for the opportunity to still be able to continue to do our work, it does mean that we may need to schedule how we spend our time together. These are both important things that we have to honor, or obligations and priorities that we have to honor. That is to spend time with our families. And also as adults, we also have to honor the responsibility of being the provider and protector. And that means, unfortunately, we have to live the comfort of our homes and go out there and work. When quantity of time is limited because of competing priorities, it's important to maximize on the quality of time that we spend together. Make sure that we make the most of the time that we can and are able to spend with each other. How has social distance impacted your life? Share your experience in the chat box and remember to like us on the socials. Relationships can be tricky at the best of times, and especially when we are all under lockdown. We're spending a lot more time together, and with everyone going through their own uniquely stressful situation, this could easily become a recipe for conflict, for closeness, and for distance. And for those people who need more distance, it may feel like being in lockdown may feel like being in a can of sardines and they start to feel suffocated. Whereas for those people that prefer to be closely tied with each other, distancing may feel like they are losing out on their need for closeness and touch and comfort and support and things like that. So, what this means is that it's important for all of us to, first of all, recognize and own our own needs. And in our relationships with each other, to be able to have the necessary conversations where each person is able to express their own need and ask for the necessary support from the people around them with whom they need to share the space. Fortunately, we now have opportunities for those people that feel they need to kind of loosen up and get more space and some alone time. There's the opportunity to safely put your mask and cover up properly, and you can take a walk. If it feels like it's getting too much and you feel like you're being cooked up in the house or people are in your face all the time. So take the necessary self-care and be able to, because we are able to do so now through the day, so you can take the necessary time to be with yourself so that you feel like you're together and you're comfortable in your own time and in your own space. For those other people, we then need to make the necessary accommodation to also help them feel like they are cared for, like they are supported, that they are loved, and that they belong. So it is about give and take. And as you said, it's important that you understand your own needs and to be able to express those and ask for support from those that you share the space with. Conflict is a normal and natural part of human relationships. And especially in this time of lockdown, it is bound to happen. So let's, in some ways, allow for it. Anticipate that it will happen because we are all cooked up in closer spaces than we have been before in our lives. The important thing is to rather discuss things preventatively. This is not always possible because we can't always anticipate everything that's going to happen. And so when conflict does happen, all it means is it's an opportunity for us to say time out, to pause and be open to communicate with each other, to let the person know what is not working for you and to ask for an adjustment or correction that will hopefully prevent it from happening in future. Conflict allows us to strengthen our relationships with ourselves because what it says is that this time requires of us to renegotiate our space, our need for space with each other. And therefore, it is about also renegotiating our relationships with each other. We get to learn to know more about ourselves and also about who we are in relationships with other people that we share the space with. The uncertainty of this situation makes it hard to plan or to even just be spontaneous about what you feel like doing in the moment. To make matters worse, our typical ways of de-stressing, such as working out in a gym, going out to watch a game, meeting your colleagues for happy hour, or even just hanging out with your groups of friends, have largely come to a halt. While it definitely is hard to be apart from the people that are closest to your heart, we all have to remember that the intention is not to punish us, but to protect us, so that when all this is over, we can resume our normal lives again. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Natura Rescue Day to Day. From me, Khosi Jiyane, it's goodbye.